Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Adam Caplan, the voice in your ears, and I got a very special guest with me, Coach Jessy Thompson. How we doing, baby?
I'm doing great. Very good.
Well, I'm happy that you came in studio. It's big things for everybody, and you just got back from Mexico City.
That's right.
Another fighter on the card with another W, the Black Buffalo, Mighty Mo.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because as you posted on social media, it was an emotional experience for him to get back in the ring. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, it was definitely like a very emotional fight. Some people might not know, but Mo's last fight dates back to like 2.5 years. And he was supposed to fight in between, there was COVID, backing everything back up, but he also got like a false medical I don't know how I could say, but like diagnosis, okay. Exactly. And like not like a minor diagnosis, like something very serious, and really play with his emotions, and coming back from that to fight in Mexico City, you're in high altitude. His last time out fighting in Nicaragua, the judges like didn't see the fight that we saw, because we thought he like demolished his opponent, but they gave it to the other guy. So you got all these things playing in the back of his head. We got a new management team that's in the works, that's investing in him. So it's a lot of pressure. He has 2 kids. His baby boy was born, I think, like 7 weeks ago. So it's a lot on the plate, just being a pro boxer, you have to sacrifice a lot. He stopped working. The fight was like a 2-3 week notice thing. So there was like everything. If he lost that fight, there was a bunch of excuses that like they were just lingering. They were up over his head, but we got the W, and now it's on to the next one. He's supposed to fight July 23rd in Mexico again. So we're definitely looking forward. The past is the past. We got that win. Now it's back to business. He's already back in the gym. He's sparring tomorrow already. So now it's just about continuing that momentum that he's building. Boxing is big time momentum. Any pro sports, I believe, actually, momentum is something that we don't really talk about. But it's definitely something that's real. And that fight was tough, man. I'm not gonna lie, there's some moments it was like, fudge, is he doing enough? We're in the guy's territory. He's getting insulted in the crowd, racial slurs, whatever you want to call it. So everyone's against us. We're in the middle of nowhere. Like, I heard even someone told me that that part of Mexico City is one of the most dangerous, highest crime rate. So it was just like a bit. But you know what? If you don't risk anything in life, you're not getting anything. So, and that's been our mentality this last year or so. We went down to Miami, had a good training camp there, just getting out of our comfort zone, going into people's home and just like rocking out. And it's the experience is just phenomenal. Like, you can't explain the experience you get from doing these type of things, So yeah, I'm happy the win it's there. On to the next one. I really believe that he's going to make some noise within the next year or so. We just got to keep building.
Sure. And what is it about Mo that has now made him be like, he's fighting in Nicaragua, he's fighting in Mexico? How come he's not taking the Montreal route?
The Montreal route is simple. I mean, at the end of the day, you're fighting in Montreal for 2 reasons. Number one, you're like this amateur superstar, or you're really like, your talent is something special, right? You see it like Arthur Beterbiev, you see guys like Artem we spoke about before, Eric Bazinian, guys who had like stellar amateur careers. And then you're the guy who sells tickets,
Right.
And I don't know, like we've approached promoters here, hey, get him on a fight, and it's just always been a no. So yeah, okay, no, you want to tell us no? No problem. We take our stuff on our own. We go to Nicaragua, we go to Mexico, we'll go to Ontario and fight, we'll go to Vancouver and fight. We don't care. Like, if that's not our road, no problem. We're gonna find another way to make it to the top.
And does that pose for bigger difficulties due to the fact that he might be viewed as the B side, or the person being brought in?
100%. I mean, this is a business at the end of the day, so we're well aware of that. But that's extra motivation. I mean, you prepare for those kind of things. You fight with a chip on your shoulder. I mean, it is what it is. That's the cards we've been dealt with. We do what we can with those, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, on the other side, I have Avery Martin Duval, who's signed to Hyde Tiger, and it's the complete opposite, right? He's fighting at home. I mean, he fought in Mexico due to COVID and stuff, but he's protected. He's got a promoter that's backing him up. We get to pick and choose our opponents on most days, you know? So you get both sides, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that bell rings. If you're protected, not protected, this shit is... Sorry, I'm swearing.
You can swear.
Okay. So this boxing is fucking hard. I mean...
You can fucking swear.
You know? Like, you either protected or not protected, don't matter.
Right.
Whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen in this sport. The sport of boxing is different than team sports, different than a lot of sports, because it pretty much resembles to life. You got skills, you got some weaknesses, it's going to show up one day or another. Everyone has their day coming in the ring, no matter who's protecting who. You know, you can't blame, you miss a play, you miss a tackle, you miss a score. You can't blame it on someone else. You can't hide behind a teammate and take a play off. That shit's for real. Boxing is like life. It's going to hit you straight up in the face. So when you're in that ring, no matter what happens, who's behind you, blah, 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 what's supposed to happen will happen.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you're backed by, who your promoter is, who your manager is, your coach. When you're in there, it's you versus that guy, or you versus yourself.
It is.
And that's the, that's the way the fucking cookie crumbles in there. And if you have an off night, you're going to get exposed for it. And for every time you just skated by, you just won the fight.
You better learn from that.
Exactly.
Because it's going to hunt you.
Absolutely.
It's going to come back and bite you in the ass. So, you know, like, even the way I teach, I always try to, like, put my finger on their mistakes or their weaknesses, right? Because there's someone out there that's seeing those weaknesses.
Yes.
There's someone out there, there's another coach, a manager, a matchmaker, whatever you want to call it. There's someone seeing those mistakes or those gaps in your style, or those gaps where you could be better, right? So I always try to, like, maybe one day that style's not going to work. You can't rely on just what's good for you, right?
For sure. And I think the advantage that you have as a coach is not only are you coaching Mo, who has to go on the road and fight, but then you also have Avery, who's, you know, an amateur superstar. He won the Golden Gloves how many times? 3 times? Every year, exactly. And then now, you know, he's maybe, I don't like to use the word more protected, you know, fighting here, but he's watched over a little bit more than the average guy. But then on the other spectrum as well, you've just brought in an American heavyweight in Brandon Moore. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and then you had Ryan Ford, who was a veteran MMA fighter who crossed over into boxing, and, you know, comes from a history of boxing in his father. And, you know, the best part about that is that guy's a fucking road warrior. He went over to Poland, he went to Siberia, he went to Russia, he went to England, he fought Buatsi. You know, so you have literally tried your hand with all of your fighters and all of these different spectrums at already such a young age that, you know, the sky is the limit for not only your fighters, but your career as a whole. And I know as a coach, you know, you're not really, you don't make it about you. You don't try to make it like you are your own brand. Yeah. But, you know, I think you would be a bit short-sighted in not seeing how much value you're actually going to be able to provide, and how much you're already providing in the sport of boxing. Yeah. You know, so it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, like, it's something I see. I really try to stay humble. I believe in my skills and what I can bring to a fighter. Not just like teaching them boxing, but trying to teach them about the business of boxing and life in general, you know. But no, I definitely see like my potential, and that's why I'm actually in this game. You know, I see like I could go somewhere. I just gotta stay humble, hungry, keep stepping out of my comfort zone. Because whenever you start getting comfortable, I feel like that's when my biggest mistakes happen in life. So it's, yeah, just staying hungry, motivated, you know, like you said, like I went down to Florida, you know, for 5 weeks. Who does that? What coach in Canada will leave for 5 weeks, leave their 3 kids and wife back home, not make the same money, you know, that I make here, just to step out, you know, living on a sofa, you know, basically sleeping on a sofa for 5 weeks, you know, where I have my like king size bed back home, you know. It's just you gotta step out your comfort and just like try to get those experiences in, you know. Right. That's what makes you at the end of the day, is those experiences.
How do you relate, you know, what you did in the ring as a fighter to now what you do as a coach? Do you live through and coach through those experiences, or is this kind of a separate skill set that you've honed on your own?
I mean, I've pretty much lived in every, like as a boxer, coach, like I've experienced different stages in my life, right? I grew up in this sport. So my perspective of being a fighter, being a coach, growing up has consistently like evolved. It's never been like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for the past 5 years. I went from being a boxer at 6. I started at 6. So from 6 to 10, I learned the sport, learned the techniques, Then I boxed, my career as an amateur, I had 45 fights. Maybe I won 15 of them, I didn't have confidence. So yes, when I coach, I could somewhat relate to that. Like I've been knocked down. I've knocked people out. I mean, I've sparred high caliber. I've been, I've been in situations. I've sparred big time pros in Montreal. So maybe I do refer to it as a coach. You see some coaches who've boxed maybe one amateur fight. I mean, I went to the nationals, fought in tournaments, won a few tournaments here and there. So I don't know how much I relate to it, but it's definitely there. And what's really helped me in the last year or so, like just to tell you a little side note about me, I always look to get better. I always evaluate my work. I'll straight up ask my fighters, how was I in the corner? Like, I'm evaluating you as a fighter, evaluate me. Was I talking too much? Was I doing this? And recently, like this last year and a bit, like I've lost 40 pounds and I started sparring a lot of my clients. And sparring, like just sparring every day, or every second day. Even if you're sparring people of a lower caliber and people that are really dangerous in front of me, you start at like, why would I be asking this combo in that situation? Why am I telling my fighter to do this? This is dumb, But sometimes you get going as a coach and you think your fighter could do everything, but no, it doesn't work that way. Like when you spar, there's things you could do and there's things you can't do, and that just translates into a fight. You understand? So my perspective keeps on changing, evolving. You see? So yeah, even when you do these trips, you're so caught up in, like, let's say, for instance, you've been coached by Herc, when I was a kid, I was coached by a Russ. So you think, no, this is the only way of boxing, this style. Then you go to the grass. Then you go to Renal Boivay. Then you see Mark Ramsey. Then you see Pedro Diaz. I spent months being trained by Pedro Diaz. I basically learned how to do pads because of Pedro Diaz. Then you go down to Florida. You go down to Miami. You see how coaches work, You chop it up with other coaches. You talk to other fighters from different worlds, And that kind of brings you to different levels consistently, right? Whereas before you're like, no, this is boxing. I know it all. I know everything. You're 22 years old. You're a coach. You're like, fuck this. I know boxing. You don't know shit, buddy. Like, one criteria, one style or one mentality. Maybe that mentality doesn't work for boxer B. Maybe it works for boxer C. Maybe, So I do refer back to my coach, my experience as a fighter, definitely, but it's not something that I'll always think back. And bro, everyone's different.
Yes.
I can't be like, you hear old school coaches, when I was back in the days, guys used to, yeah, but it's not your fucking time anymore. We're in today's society, like it or not, you have to deal with the fighters you're dealing with today.
It was interesting what you said, though, about how not every game plan is going to work for fighter A, for fighter B, fighter C. Now, before the show, we were actually talking about the difference in now you training a heavyweight and Brandon Moore. So what are some of the biggest differences in training a heavyweight versus, lighter fighters? Because even myself, I've never been a small guy. I've always had that weight on me, and I've been coached by, fighters that fought at lighter weight classes. And I've always even went to myself, and kind of thought about it and said, I wonder what it would be like getting trained by a heavyweight coach, even though it's not natural for my size and my height. But I wonder what it would be like if I was training with a guy who is a heavyweight, how you would go about the training style and the game planning, etc. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, definitely, yeah. Like Brandon Moore opened my eyes to things in the heavyweight game, like I've trained a bit. Simon Keane, I've been assisting him and Vincent in their journey and everything. But now that I was actually like head coach of a heavyweight for like 5 weeks, it made me realize that you can't coach heavyweights the same way you'd coach a lightweight or a super middleweight for that instance. Heavyweights, it's really like their physique plays a big role in the way you're going to teach boxing. I mean, if you're weighing 180 and you get punched, or okay, like you can absorb it, roll with it. If you're like 250s, 270 punching someone, it's not just the power of the punch. There's weight behind it, you know? So you get exhausted from just the body types, you know, in front of you. And then the gas tanks. I mean, you don't see many heavyweights box the same way they'll box in the first round in comparison to like the 12th round. There's maybe like 4 or 5 heavyweights in the world can do that, you know? So then you're coaching a certain way and be engaged the whole time and reset quickly and, you know, setups, do your setups and jab consistently. And bro, the guys are heavy. They're big, you know, they get tired quickly. One punch could mean lights out a lot more than different weight classes. So the way you teach is like, you really have to be conservative. And the other thing that's really interesting in the heavyweights is your physique is going to determine a lot how you're going to be fighting. I mean, if you're tall, rangy, you know, slower, you're not going to go on the inside and try to trade and put your punches together. No, you're going to sit back, take your time, be conservative, set up your punches. You see an opportunity, you'll let it fly, you know. Then you have another type of heavyweight, the smaller one, the athletic one. You know, he can't match that distance. So what does he have to do? He's got to put pressure. He's got to pick and choose when he's going to go in volume. You understand? So definitely going down to Florida, like the whole experience is different there. The whole game is different. But training a heavyweight really opened my eyes to like, okay, these guys, these big boys, they need to be taught differently, slightly differently, you know. So it's good learning experience once again for me, you know.
Do you also have to manage the rest a lot more in between trainings, but also perhaps in the actual sessions? Will you give a guy a little bit more time off, a little bit?
Yeah, you won't change it. You won't change the times, you know, like the training, you got a session. You're training every day. You're doing your conditioning every day or every second day. That doesn't change that way. But the volume at which things go in the sparring, in the pad work, on the bag work is very different. You got to play with that energy. And as a coach, you gotta like, you don't want to push it too much, but you definitely got to test your fighter. You got to bring them where they're uncomfortable, but you don't want to ask too much of them where they become sloppy and then they can get dropped at any moment. You don't want to put them in danger just because you want them to throw more, right?
Sure. And after doing the 5 weeks with Brandon in Florida, now, obviously, I know that the caliber of, you know, your newest fighter is not maybe necessarily the caliber of Brandon, but still a heavyweight as well in big Harley Morenstein. So I was wondering if training Brandon and a heavyweight, how much from those 5 weeks did you then take to actually training Harley?
Yes, not that much.
Not that much.
No. Why? Because I'm dealing with a brand new fighter.
He's at ground zero, right? So everyone's more or less at the same.
Honestly, I kept it very simple with Harley. I know you saw him throw an uppercut, but I never asked him to throw an uppercut on the pads or in sparring with me. I just kept it simple. Keep your hands up. Use your distance. Be boring. Jab straight, reset. I also taught him how to block, right? That was the number one thing. If I'm going to teach a YouTuber how to fight, you better know how to block, because I don't want to be that coach. I don't know if you saw that whole show.
I watched the whole thing.
Bro, there's guys who got...
We're going to get there.
Yeah. There's guys who... This was the defense, right?
Yeah.
So like, no, that doesn't work with me. So I taught Harley. And you know what? At the end of the day, learning the proper defense, I knew my confidence. If he was in trouble at any moment, if his hands went up, he leaned back, relaxed, stand his ground, he's okay. He's not getting hurt. I don't have Mama Harley trying to sue me or kill me in the parking lot because I didn't teach her son how to block punches, right? So yeah, the Brandon experience didn't really change the way I was going to teach Harley regardless. I was going to teach him the basic, how to defend yourself. And I mean, he did well.
Yeah, which I assumed would be your answer. But, you know, did it kind of change your perspective in YouTube boxing after being involved in such a big show? Or do you think it was because you were the one to coach the fighter, you know, you had more confidence in that?
That's a very good question. I mean, like 3 years ago, maybe when YouTubers started, like with the Jake Pauls and stuff, you're a coach, an old school coach, or you have fighters. Everyone's like, fuck this YouTube shit. Like, why are they even in boxing? Like, everything's negative. Why are they getting paid? We're not getting paid. Why are they getting in the spotlight? We're not. But you know what? YouTube boxing is one of the best things that happened to boxing. Not like ever, but it's It's huge. People don't realize how huge it is, okay? Because this YouTube boxing is not going anywhere.
Nope.
It's going to be here for another couple years.
Absolutely.
Okay? So let's talk about the benefits of YouTube boxing to boxing, okay? So we were at this show in Tampa. 12,000 people showed up, okay? Probably the loudest crowd I ever been. I mean, like the tops. I mean, Butte when he fought in Montreal, or Hilton, that was huge crowds. Like, it was loud.
Or Buatsi is a big show too.
That's the next one. Buatsi, like Lomachenko and Campbell, that was loud. The O2 was loud. Canelo fought Rocky Fielding. I was at the Madison Square Garden because I was coaching Evilist back then. That was a good crowd. That crowd in Tampa was wild. Yeah. It wasn't like for one fighter in general. During the intermissions, during the breaks, whatever, the crowd was bananas, okay? So you got 12,000 fans who showed up to a boxing event. On that event, there's two real pro fighters who fought on that show, all right? So that's money in their pockets. That's views on the fighters, right? So you got that side, right? The financial side of it. Look at the ladies who fought Serrano against Katie. They're making like big money. Why? Because there's a YouTuber involved. Would they make the same kind of money if the Paul guy wasn't involved? I don't think so. Right. All right. So there's the financial aspect of it. It's good for boxers. Number two, you realize one thing with these YouTube boxing. You realize that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're, let's say, Lomachenko. It doesn't matter if you're Usyk, or I don't know why I'm using those fighters, but it doesn't matter how good you are. You need to be marketable, right? And what YouTube boxing has shown us is this is entertainment.
Yes.
You understand? This sport is entertainment. Your face is showing. You don't have a helmet. You don't have a jersey. It's your full body. You're just wearing shorts for men, right? So we need to realize as boxers, like there's a new age, YouTube, Instagram, social media, TikTok, whatever you want to call it. And those platforms actually help fighters, right? We need to realize that this, at the end of the day, is entertainment. We fight, yeah, we love boxing. We like the sweet science of it all. But you need to be entertaining. You want to play the good guy. You want to play the bad guy. You want to play the people's champ. You want to be a warrior. You want to be a slick counter. It doesn't matter. You need to be something. You understand? People need to be, look at Ryan Garcia. Very good fighter. But look how much star power he has behind him because of social media. So boxing needs to realize that YouTube boxing, they're doing something good. There was 12,000 people. I repeat, 12,000 people. You know how many pay-per-views they bought? They raised over 1.5 million. That's after paying everything. The ring, the arena, whatever, the flights, the fighters. They made big money. So we need to realize in the boxing game that we need to create content. How do you say it? Like what we're doing here, we need to create some images. We need to create some footage. You understand?
Absolutely,
we need to,
yes.
People need to be attracted to the fighter.
100%.
They need to have a following for the good reasons or bad reasons. So that's the second thing. And the third thing, what YouTube boxing has brought to us, maybe, I don't know for you, but for me, I have some clients that are joining my gym. They're paying $80, $100 an hour for a private session. Why? Because they saw Jake Paul fight.
Yep.
They saw Harley Morenstein or whatever it is. You understand?
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I don't care which fighter you are, what coach, what promoter, you're an idiot if you say YouTube boxing is not good for boxing. You are, because it is. Yeah. It is good.
Well, there's a chance that you're probably jealous. You're probably jealous that back in your day, the eyes weren't on you. The purse wasn't in your favor.
100%. But that's business. Is it fair? Fuck no, it's not fair.
Business isn't fair.
You get a kid. Yeah, exactly. You get a kid who's been training since he's 7 years old, risking his life, not seeing his friends, not partying, not even going to school, not even working. He has $0 to his name, fighting, losing, winning, whatever it is. And he's not getting paid. Sorry. Then you got this YouTube guy who's never fought a single day in his life. And he's making big money. It's not fair. But you need to realize this is a business. Entertainment.
But I don't think people also realize the amount of hours and dedication that these YouTubers have put towards their craft in social media. They didn't just wake up and became a household name.
No, man.
The amount of... Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Self-hustlers, and you got to give it to them. Yeah. They're stepping in the ring. You watch that show, you told them. Yeah. Man, there's fights. Yo, those guys, there's some guys on that card who probably like lost a few years off their life just getting smashed by a 16-ounce glove right across the jaw in front of 12,000 people. Yeah. I mean, there was wars on that event. So you got to give it to them, you know. They're hustling. They're going after it. And at the end of the day, especially that event, Creators Clash, raised over $1 million for charity associations. I don't know which ones. A bunch of them. So like, this is a winner for everyone at the end of the day.
Well, exactly. And it's brought more eyes to the sport. It's brought, you know, the everyday person that probably would have signed up for soccer or hockey or football said, hey, fuck it, I want to go and sign up to some boxing and, you know, learn how to defend myself. I mean, you know, you said taking shots. I mean, the guy iDubbbz who put on the event, he didn't give himself an easy matchup. He took a lot of shots.
He was in a war for like 5 rounds.
You know, if you watch Harley's dear friend Sam Hyde in terms of how he showed Ian how to box or showed him his first introduction to it, you wouldn't think that he would have been able to put on the performance or have that tenacity in the ring.
No, it was really good. That fight, that main event against Dr. Mike, you could tell those guys been preparing for like months.
Absolutely.
And they didn't shy away. Like, they went after it.
No doubt.
It was a really special fight.
So is it something that you're looking forward to, you know, with Harley continuing on this journey? Or do you think Harley's a one and done?
I don't know. I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, I mean, I'm still training Harley. We're good friends. We've developed, you know, this whole experience. I don't know if you saw the episodes too that he uploaded on his YouTube channel.
I did.
Those videos are like, I'm going to remember that moment forever. Like, it was special, and we've created a friendship for life, you know?
No doubt.
So if he gets an offer and like it makes sense, you know, financially it makes sense, he's not going to get hurt, we're going to go through it, you know? If I'm going to focus now my career towards YouTube boxing, no.
No, certainly
If
not.
opportunities show up, I don't mind, you know, if the timing's good. But it was a good experience, man. It was definitely a great experience.
I did watch the series, and in fact, my favorite part of the series was when you were sitting in the ring and you were watching some of the footage that Harley was doing with Sam Hyde, and you were kind of saying, I like this, I don't like that. And the reason why that was my favorite part is I didn't like the fact that the series started off with you training him, and then the plot is he needs to go to another coach and kind of learn the ropes. I'm kind of like, hold on now. Man knows what the fuck he's talking about. What are we doing here? But little did we know that there was a whole plot behind it due to the fact that Sam is controversial and they were banning him from the show. Yeah, and it was a way to build, you know, a big gossip and stuff. So my favorite part but my favorite part was when Coach Thompson gets his redemption in kind of saying, I don't know about this. I like that. But ultimately, this is what I look for when I'm coaching my fighter. Not that you needed to rebuild your credibility, because you certainly have a fuckload of it, but I love the fact that you were like, hey, by the way, I was the one in his corner. I'm the one who taught him how to box and to utilize that jab. And last but not least, Sam, there's actually a couple things that you need to work on in terms of your coaching.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely think I know my boxing, but maybe I don't, you know? So I think it was good for Harley, like, yeah, you know, like the entertainment and all of going to see Sam and what it created, the buzz and the controversy, you know, like, that's good. But it's also good for him to see, like, okay, you're going from a purist boxing, like, vision from mine, and you're going to, like, someone who's trying to reinvent boxing, who's never boxed a single day in his life, who doesn't know shit about boxing. So you get Sam's like perspective, you get my perspective, and Harley's very smart. Harley's like very aware of what's going on. So Harley probably like saw like, okay, maybe I could use a bit of this from Sam. Maybe I can mix it in, you know? So, and I'm going from a pure boxing mind to like someone who's trying to invent boxing out of an office place, you know? So it's really like one spec to the other, right? So I think that's good. Yeah. Any day you get that, even like my fighters, I really, really don't mind them going to see other coaches, you know? just to see something different, it's what it is.
For sure. I think the biggest benefit of Harley going to train with Sam was actually moving around with him. Moved around with a guy who was around the same size as him.
That's true.
Moved around with a guy that wasn't going to throw in an orthodox manner. Like, let's be honest here. It was
YouTube boxing.
YouTube boxing.
100%.
Punches were going to come from different angles.
As much as I sparred Harley many times for this fight, as much as I tried to be bad at boxing, it's like just swing and like try to give him a look that he might see, and that's what he actually saw in that fight. It was hard for me to do.
Sure.
It wasn't natural as far as he even said, like, you change your face when you're about to box, like the bad style. So he would anticipate it. So going to see Sam and having Sam, who's not a boxer, throw bombs at him definitely helped him.
No doubt.
Definitely was a smart move.
Absolutely. What I love about the coaching philosophies from you as well is, to quote maybe jiu-jitsu or martial arts, you have a white belt mentality. Every day seems like day one, but it's also day 10,000 at the same time. Always reevaluating yourself, always trying to find a way to keep what keep the meat and potatoes, but also reinvent the wheel at the same time. And now you're kind of at a point in your career where not only are you training professional boxers, not only are you known, now for coaching one of the biggest YouTube boxing events, but now you're kind of at a point where you have so much experience in all of these different realms of the fight game that, now you got even more to offer. What's the next step now?
The next step I can't really share right now because it's still in the process of developing itself. Sure. But there's definitely movement. There's definitely something big coming. I mean, I can't wait to share it with people. It's and then it goes again. Like I feel like I know my boxing. I'm very confident in what I know in it. But Montreal is really like it's a good place. I mean, it's a fantastic place, boxing wise.
Hint number one, keep going.
There is good promoters here. You got Eye of the Tiger, who's like world class. I think they're going somewhere, and they're getting started, right? I think Groupe Yvon Michel. I mean, he's been steady. He's been in the game for well over 30 years now.
Yeah.
I started like the first time I was working a pro corner, I was 16 on one of his shows. I'm 31 now. That's 15 years later. And he's still, producing champions. And I think the game is good here, but I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I'm hungry. I want more. I want to chew more. I want a bigger bite. I want bigger challenges. And Montreal is, on one side of it is like there's not many fighters when you really think about it.
You're not interested in being the big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, I don't know if we're a small pond. Like, we got good fighters in Montreal.
Canada as a whole, though, in the fight game.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's good fighters here. There's very good coaches. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but it's just not big enough. It isn't. And it's hard for me to convince a fighter to come to Montreal and train an outside fighter when, you got like obvious reasons, the language barrier, you got minus 20, minus 30 degrees Celsius for like 4 months in a row. It's dark at 4 p.m. It's hard. It's hard to like tell a boxer from Dominican Republic or Mexico, hey buddy, why don't you come here and learn French and train here and pay 50% of your tax, Like, it's hard for fighters to establish themselves here. And, I don't want to get off topic or anything, but the government, the way they dealt with the whole COVID, I'm not disrespecting anything about COVID, but like locking children, not allowing them to do sports, like the government telling you need to be vaccinated. I got vaccinated. Like, I'm for it. I saw, like, I genuinely think that it was something good. You saw the cases lower and everything. But to tell someone you're going to pay tax now, like, how does the government even think of these things? Like, it's all this movement, I'm not so for it, but at the end of the day, this is where I grew up. This is where I'm born. This is where my kids are born. But, the future, like, I don't know where it's going to end up, but there's definitely things in the works. There's definitely and it's going to involve me getting out my comfort, pushing, like sacrificing more, but I think it's time for some bigger challenges.
Absolutely.
Some different avenues, like get my hands in other ways in boxing, right? And not just sitting here and training Mo and Avery and Ryan when he comes in, and sometimes being cut man to other fighters in Montreal, and just, the amateur system in Canada, it was just in the news like a few months ago. I'm not inventing anything. It's been corrupted. There's been rules, and it's not healthy.
Yes.
There's no amateurs winning international tournaments right now. There isn't. Okay. So you're there, you're a coach, you feel like you've got so many tools, you got so much potential, so much motivation, so much, like you said before, the sky's the limit, but you're in a circuit where there's no amateur coming up. And if there's like 2, 3, so what, you're going to go push coaches aside and be like, yo, you come train with me. You don't do that, I'm very respectful to other coaches and other fighters. So there's that. And then, like I said before, try to tell a fighter to come here and establish themselves here. Let's say you tell a fighter from Mexico, hey, come train in Miami, or come train in Quebec. What
are they going to choose?
Exactly. So,
sure.
I mean, I'm open to everything, but I'm definitely not sitting on my ass. I'm just trying to see what other possibilities there is for me, and I'm ready for it, I'm ready to push forward. I'm hungry as ever. COVID really tested that. Really you're not allowed to do your job. So you're there, you're like, fuck, you're losing all your momentum. You're using all your skills. It's something to train someone, but to train someone for a fight and to get that fight experience, and that you get that 1 minute in the corner, you have to teach your guy, you need that momentum. You need to be upgoing, In COVID, you're not doing any of it. The first fight I had at COVID, I'm freaking out. I'm like, how do I wrap her hand? Cuts, this. So I really asked myself, fuck, is this really what I have to do, And COVID's gone. I'm flying everywhere. I'm pushing, creating new contacts, getting out my comfort, like I said before. And whatever's going to happen, I know it's going to be good. I'm just ready for it. I'm pushing. I'm hungry, I want opportunities, and it's not going to happen sitting back and expecting a diamond to fall on my lap, Right. So we'll see.
The last question I have for you is what are your keys or secrets to, keeping that momentum and being consistent with it and remaining disciplined in your craft? And I don't only mean that in boxing, I mean that in all avenues of life. What would you tell a friend going through trouble? What would you tell a client who's trying to get back on the horse? What are some values and key things that you're going to teach to your daughters that are going to kind of propel that work ethic and that mentality?
Basically, like you said, it's sacrifice, discipline, motivation, Life is not easy, You're born in a certain environment. You're born with some tools, you're born in whatever scenario you're born. Could be the best, could be the bad. People are going to go through moments. They're going to go through painful moments, But I see everything like a test. So when that opportunity comes and it's yeah, you're sick, you have Crohn's disease, you're going to be stuck in the hospital for the next year, and you're not going to see your friends, you're not going to finish high school, My older brother told me, he's like, you got 2 options here. You either say oh, you're sick, you stay down, stay home, don't do nothing, stay comfortable, get healthy. Or you're like, you know what, fuck you. I'm going to make my own experiences, I'm going to push through this, and I'm going to learn from it, So life, the way I see it, is you get these ups and downs, and it's how you go forward, right? How you go forward from those negative moments. And at the end of the day, buddy, you only live once. So make the most out of it. Don't just be let me stay in my comfort zone and everything's good and calculated. If that's you, that's you. That's not me, And my kids, I'm telling them how it is. I'm rough. I'm an asshole with them. I tell them how it is. I don't want to sugarcoat them and make them feel comfortable. Yes, you show them love. You show them what it is to have someone, that cares for you and is going to go through anything for you. You show them that, but you also tell them the real life. You tell them, hey, it ain't easy. You're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to push on your own. You're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to get hated on. You're going to get, you know, ups and downs. Keep pushing forward. Keep working hard. Get off your ass. Don't be soft, you know. So it's all these things, you know. And, you know, boxing is a great way to show that. I mean, boxing is it's a tough sport. It's a tough sport. So if you can use what you learn in boxing and apply it to real life and just be about that, I mean, sky's the limit. This world is full of opportunities, especially here in Canada. I mean, you could go do what you want to do, right? There's jobs everywhere. There's, you know. So I don't know, bro. It's just about living life at the fullest, working hard, being respectful, teaching your kids how to behave, you know, how to be honest people. Honesty is also something that's so key in this life, especially when you get older, you know. You just have to be who you are, respect others, and work hard. I don't know if that made any sense, because I felt like I went everywhere in every direction.
But that's the question I asked you. You know, came into it open-minded, always willing to learn, never satisfied, always looking to improve, a professional boxing coach, a father of 3, a business owner, a gym owner, perhaps, you know, a gym owner in other places. And, you know, the most important thing is that you keep striving for the best version of yourself. I thank you for coming on to AC Radio. Coach Jessy Thompson, where could they find you quickly?
Coach Thompson Boxing, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow me. That's it, man. Let's keep going forward. Appreciate you having me on this podcast.
No doubt.
I mean, I really enjoyed this, sharing my vision, sharing my thoughts about the boxing game as it is today in 2022. And I really enjoyed this, man.
No doubt.
I hope we do this again.
You got that, baby. Keep up or get left behind. Coach Thompson, AC Radio, we're out.